Hello, welcome to Rob, Ryan, Red. We're 1 week into the new season. We beat Wycombe. We're out of the Carabao Cup. On today's episode, we'll look back at both of those matches. We'll bring you the latest on Wrexham's transfer business, take a look at where we could strengthen in the final fortnight of the window, and look ahead to our trip to face Bolton this weekend. Without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Rob, Ryan, Red.
I'm Rich Fay, joined by Nathan Salt as always. Nath, how are you feeling? We learned a year ago, didn't we, that making sort of harsh snap reactions after one match, what can go wrong? So we beat Wycombe. We're definitely going to win the league. Carabao Cup, we've been that to one side. We're focusing all on League One. How are you feeling about the season so far? We've had a look at most of our players, really, haven't we?
Yeah, I think that's the positive. I think perspective is the key word. Nobody likes to lose. There were some individual mistakes, undoubtedly, in the game against Sheffield United. Those players would own up to those mistakes. But it's one game, completely different sides. Only James McLean played or started both of those games, 10 changes for the Sheffield United game. I feel optimistic. I feel like we've maybe conceded a few more goals than I thought. Over pre-season, it looked like he's gone and got Okonkwo and he's gone and got all these defenders, but it will take time to gel. But if I've learned anything over 2 games, Rich, it is that I still think Max is our best centre-back.
Really? See, I conceded 6 goals over 2 games, which is concerning, I think, given that we were saying, like I said, all summer, we are going to be defensively solid. We're going to win all these games 2-1, 1-0. I mean, I did say most of that, wasn't you? I'm not going to give you the quote on that. But Max, our best centre-back, do you really think that? I think he's our technical best footballer as a centre-back, but I'm not sure he's our best defender.
I just think as an all-round package in that back three, I think Lewis Brunt, didn't have the greatest of games on Tuesday night. He'll admit that. He's only going to get better. He's got room to grow. I think Dan Scarr, I thought, looked good. You've got an assist for Will Boyle. Rock, that more old-fashioned centre-back. But again, I didn't get the impression that Parky would be playing him anywhere other than the centre of that back three. That's sort of how I feel about Owen O'Connell. And Will Boyle, he's got about 8 middle names. Will, Sam, Harry, Douglas Boyle, or something like that. Got his name on the score sheet. Really good goal, actually. But again, I thought he looked exposed probably by one of my new favourite players, Seb Revan. He left Will Boyle with a lot to do. And Tom O'Connor, there were lots of people commenting about him after Wycombe and, what he could have done differently. So defensively, you basically put the jinx on them. You said we were going to be watertight, locked door, clamps, and the 2 games, 6 goals conceded. Not quite the case.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get there. I think it's just a case of learning what our back three is, and it was really interesting again because the way you make 10 changes for Sheffield United away, that's not conducive to getting players to settle in properly. You still just don't really know who your best 11 are. And we've seen that in every Phil Parkinson season. The team that starts the season looks completely different to the one that ends the season. By the final sort of 15, 20 games, the team almost picks itself. But the first half of the season, there is so much chopping and changing. I think we'll see that again in the weeks ahead. It will be really interesting. We'll probably get onto it when we talk about our Bolton preview, who our back three would be. But, you almost have to look at both games as a couplet, don't you? Because there was so much, they're just so different as what they were. The team that started against Wycombe was clearly the players who were in Parky's preferred sort of lineup at the moment. If we're going to look at who impressed at Sheffield United, I'd agree with you. I think Scarr was really encouraging to see. He seemed very vocal as well at the back, which was refreshing. Revan was very good going forward. A nightmare defensively, really. He's a lot of fun to watch. I'm not sure he's someone who should be starting in League One anytime soon. I think he still needs to get up to speed a little bit with the way we play. I think he's just too much of a liability defensively. for some of the games coming up because we're getting some very good opposition in the first few weeks. I thought Burton was really good in goal. When he came out, it looked like we somehow got Mark Howard back again because they had a similar sort of stature. But he made some really good saves. Obviously, saved the penalty as well. Do I expect any of them to come to the starting lineup for the weekend? I'm not too sure, but I do think when we go to Bolton, it'd be a bit more of a defensive sort of lineup. And we spoke about that, didn't we? But the midfield could be 2 holding midfielders and then someone a bit more advanced. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw that this weekend. I'm encouraged what we've seen.
Positives, though. They're positives.
Dobson, even when he came on Tuesday, wow, what a player. I said this in our group chat, he reminds me of Jimmy Bullard. There's just something about him. He's just got this energy and this determination, and he's going to be fan favourite, and he's the player I think fans will love the most this season, George Dobson, because he just gives 100%. He is just throwing everything into every single game, and he was a nuisance as well on Tuesday night. He kept dead balls alive. He just brought energy and pizzazz to the midfield. I love watching him.
What did I say, though? 7 league games for 5 yellows, I reckon. I mean, he got 1 against Wycombe. That was blatant yellow cards. Now, I think it's 19 league games. You need to go 19 league games without getting 5 yellow cards. He's still showing off that Gatorade bottle. You can't get enough of that bottle, which is just amazing. Anyway, 19 EFL games. If you pick up 5 yellows in that span, you are banned. And if you pick up 10 yellows in the space of 38 games, I don't really know. George Dobson may as well not even look at the player handbook, because every player gets issued this FA handbook guidance on bans, and if you need to speak to certain bodies, this is who you speak to. I mean, there's no point George Dobson. George Dobson is going to rack up so many yellow cards, but that's just the nature of his game. I don't think you can take that out of him. He was brilliant against Wycombe. And I have to say, Rich, I mean, look, let me start off with some positives, because last week I was kind of the doom monger, and I don't want to be that again. I don't feel comfortable in that skin. Positives, Callum Burton I thought was great. He made a lot of good saves. Couldn't do anything about the goals, really. He saved the penalty. Very unlucky. Was it Louis Marsh, I think, on the follow-up? Not much you can do about that save. Rian Brewster's penalty. Could do nothing, I thought, about the goals. James Jones unlucky to try and clear one off the line, and not often you get to see a goal line technology graphic for a Wrexham match, but there we go, the brave new world. Callum Burton was a positive. I actually thought Seb Revan was a huge positive going forward. I think, him and Barney can be such a weapon. I thought his final ball, his finishing, he offers you so much in that role, and we're going to get onto it shortly, but I would beg to differ. I would start him at Bolton, because I think it's totally different with Dobson in there, with Tom O'Connor, who has played at left back at Gillingham. I think there's potentially a bit more cover to overcompensate, and we need to go to Bolton and not be in awe of them. Anyway, we're going to get onto Bolton a bit later, and I can make my passionate case for Seb Revan to start. Positives then, Jack Marriott when he came on, and Jack Marriott at the weekend. I mean, what a goal! It's our pinned tweet at the moment that just
that's goal this season, isn't it?
I mean, how do you top that? I don't know how you top that.
Well, we speak, don't we? I think we did it last season about what do you like for a goal? Is it someone who blasts one for 50 yards, top corner, or is it that sort of build-up play? And what I love about this is it's a mixture of both, because there's 3 elements to it, and all of them are superb. There's the chip pass from Elliot Lee, which is perfect. Ollie's flick up is just so well executed. And then there's the chest and the outside of the boot volley. It's 4 components, really, isn't it? And they are all perfection. And then the goalkeeper is the villain as well. So it was just the perfect start to the new season. I think that it's kind of the result we were hoping for and expecting to beat Wycombe narrowly. Again, the concern is the way that we concede those goals, but I do think that that'll be ironed out in the first few weeks. It was another reminder that the quality has gone up a level again this season. And the fact that, look, and again, this comes when you analysing the Sheffield United game, there was a clear gulf in class between what we've got in reserve and what a championship team has in reserve. And, both teams were a bit makeshift, and there was new players playing for either of us. And I think what the last week has taught me, and this isn't being pessimistic, it is just that the reality check of where we've gone up a whole new level now. League, National League to League 2 didn't feel too much of a jump. I think League 2 to League 1 is a sizable jump. There'll still be quite a few teams, maybe 5 or 6 towards the basement of the division, who will be the whipping boys, really. but I think the quality's just gone up another level. And we saw that on Tuesday night where, look, these players that we idolise, they're still well off championship level.
Yeah, I mean, what I sort of learned was that the division League One will be so open. So I see people projecting points tallies and this is what you'll need. And it's really difficult to say because you look at the opening game, Exeter beating Rotherham. Steve Evans not even shaking Gary Caldwell's hand. You know, that's how annoyed Rotherham were. They're one of the picks. We had them in the top two, didn't we? Birmingham, got an 86-minute penalty. Alfie May sort of saved my fantasy. But anyway, it saved Birmingham City on the day against Reading, who haven't signed a player, but did say they would be scrappy and they fight for everything. Bolton just about got away with it against Leyton Orient. There are other teams in there that maybe predicted to be quite high up. Charlton, a friend of mine went to watch Charlton, said he was not impressed at all against them when he watched them against Wigan. I think they won 1-0. It was a win. It was important to get off to a strong start. But what I was going to say, Rich, that over the course of the two games, and I hate to say this to you because, and it is only one game, and there is a lot of time for things to iron out, but I have to say that, and it gives me no pleasure saying this, I really didn't think George Evans took the challenge laid down by George Dobson. George Evans is a very, very good player, and I know
I feel they're just so different, though, aren't they? It's completely different. It's chalk and cheese.
But they're playing in the same. They're playing in the same role at the base of that midfield. I get they're different and they're offering different things, but ultimately that's the challenge. You want to play. You got to rise to it. You got to take the shirt back.
And but it's 2 games into the new season. His chances will come. His chances will definitely come.
No doubt. But I'm saying, but we do a podcast every single week, so we can only say about the 2 games we've seen, and we can look back and have a good old laugh when George Evans is player of the season. But I'm saying that from what I saw on Tuesday, he looked a little bit rusty. And look as well. We're going to get onto the sign of Ollie Rathbone, but again, I didn't think that quite worked in the off the striker type role. I'd love to see Ollie Rathbone a bit deeper, and if you do play sort of 2 more defensively minded players, maybe it is Dobson and Rathbone together and see how that looks. Because again, I think the early stage of the season, we've had 5 or 6 new pieces. It is about just finding the combinations that work. Max and Barney, I think, is one that really works on the right side. Left side, there's a little bit of change. Just McLean come inside. Lee and Cannon have got a really good working relationship. He's trying to get Marriott a little bit more involved. Marriott's moved to the area now, so hopefully he can spend a bit more time with lads and build up that rapport, because all these intangibles lead to a better product on the pitch. It takes time. George Dobson just got there. Dan Scar's just got there. Max and Barney have been playing together a while. Okonkwo is obviously not new, but again, he's working with new defenders in front of him. So it'll take a bit of time can he come out? Is he going to have a commanding centre-back to win it ahead of him? All these different intangibles. So yes, what I'm saying about Evans is, wasn't his best night. He'll have plenty more chances, but I do think that Dobson being selected against Wickham showed you that right now he's got that shirt as the defensive midfielder, and it's up to Gorgeous George to win it back.
Yeah, I think it's like we said, it's just the tactics used in the game, really, for me. I think Parky will have looked at those first 2 games and said, look, this is a chance to get every single player an hour under their belt at the least, really. And then he can, in the next few weeks, really pin together the team he wants. It's just different. It's just a different sort of mentality for every single game. I don't think there is one set formula early on of this is his best 11. Wickham at home is a winnable game. You need to get off to a good start, so you're going to go a bit more attacking. The games coming up, particularly the away games, I think we'll see a much more defensive side to us, and that's when I think we'll see the likes of George Evans shining, really, and hopefully George Dobson as well. I think that those 2 could actually work quite well together, to be honest, and then have someone else in midfield. But the Sheffield United game was just peculiar because trying to give minutes to everyone meant that you were shortchanged in certain areas of the pitch. Dolby alone up top, I don't think any striker would have suited playing almost in a solo role against Sheffield United, particularly against their quite brutal and brutish centre-back partnership. So
how big was Harry Souttar? Just like 7 foot tall. I mean, I just on a hiding to nothing in that kind of role. I mean, Dolby did have one chance that you thought you kind of gotta take that, because what we said about Marriott, didn't we, before he scored and played against Wickham? Chances are going to be so few and far between that when you get them, you need to take them, and especially at this point in the window where Wrexham are looking at another striker, and I get it. It's tough. It wasn't the best circumstances. It was a completely new team. He hasn't played with Rathbone
and he's also
before.
getting very little service as well. So it's very easy to sort of slam Dalby, but you could put any striker up front there.
Not even slamming him.
But I think there's a lot of rhetoric on social media and at the ground as well of like, oh, it's Dalby, isn't it? I mean, we're not going to score, which is, personally, I think that Dalby isn't good enough to be starting for Wrexham. That's my opinion. But in the defence of him, it's like no striker would have done anything different really on Tuesday night because there was no service. We just didn't play very well, which isn't a criticism either. Just Sheffield United are a better football team than us.
I'll tell you who was really good, Rich. That he went off, but I thought, was it Femriki or something like that? Their right back who was coming down our left side at ease. I thought he ended up pulling up after like 20 minutes, but he was great.
But again, not being negative, I think there was a reason he had so much freedom on the left. Is because Boyle and Revan just didn't have the defensive coverage at all. And Will Boyle probably had more chances, more touch of the ball in the opposition box than he did in his own box at times, because he had that great shot leading up to the goal, didn't he, to force the corner. He scored from the corner as well, and he had a header in the second half, which is like
Rich,
went on the roof in there.
How was the away day experience though this time around? It was obviously they said about 1,700 on the broadcast. I mean, it was great support, but always a bit of a nightmare place to get to, Sheffield United.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, to be honest. Going over Snake Pass is never good at the best of times. Heading from Manchester, it was just a sort of draining journey to Sheffield, and then we got to Sheffield. It'd been torrential rain in Manchester all day, and it was a tropical climate. It's the hottest I've ever been, probably at a football stadium in my life. It was sweltering, that away end, which is so odd because it was like half full, half empty, however you want to describe it. The bonus was no queues for the toilet or for the bar, which is fantastic. But I was just sweating, absolutely sweating. I brought a work colleague with me. It was his first ever Wrexham match. He really did enjoy himself, actually. But yeah,
Michael, I feel like he told me about this. Did he enjoy it? I was going to say, his first Wrexham experience he was telling me about.
Yeah, he said he was. I mean, he's from Northern Ireland. So he, I'm not sure how he sort of reacted to James McLean being the captain, the chants about the late Queen, and just about James McLean in general. But I think he did enjoy it. Yeah, it was. I mean, when you think about the last trip to Sheffield United, that's when we came up. Well, the Manchester Reds came up with that incredible Rye, McElhenney and Rye chant. And that's all I could remind of. I'm quite glad I don't have to go to Bramall Lane again for a while. I've sort of been there, done that. I'd love to see us win there one day, but in terms of an away day, I still really did enjoy it. It was just a good laugh. I love those sort of early season Tuesday nighters where it's still like almost bright by the time you get out the ground. I know this is an 8 p.m. and it's a bit grey and miserable, but yeah, Wrexham are back. I'm just loving life. We're playing in the gold kit, watching Wrexham. Yeah, I love it. Life doesn't get better than this. And I also keep thinking to myself, you tell me 6 or 7 years ago we're even going to play Sheffield United, and the fact that it's almost like, we're going to Sheffield United tonight. The fact that there's almost this sort of, not complacency, but like, it's never going to be lost on me how incredible it is to watch Wrexham back in the League Cup, back at these sort of grounds, putting up on a decent show. Obviously, like we said, the Gulf Clash showed at the end, but just loving it. Just love being back in the Football League, and I don't ever want to get in a position where I take that for granted. And that's what last night was about for me. It was just about enjoy this, because as quickly as we come up the leagues, we could be right back down in the years ahead. So just enjoy it.
Enjoy it, but sweat it out, because seemingly you were in the sauna-like environment. So I did feel for you a little bit there. Just a quick shout out to Ben Tozer, who I thought did an excellent job as a pundit on Sky. Future career maybe there for Ben. I know his family was super proud of him, and did very, very well. Always must have been very strange for him to be analysing Will Boyle's opening goal from a.
He's still calling Parky Gaffer as well, wasn't he? I heard.
Still calling him Gaffer. A lot of people do that, don't they? Where they never feel comfortable calling him Phil or Parky or whatever. So yeah, did a very, very good job. And also, I was thinking, Rich, the other day, I was kind of maybe reminiscing a little bit about the Vancouver trip, as you do, when you're back at work. And I was thinking that on the final night or penultimate night where we were watching the fireworks, I was convinced that you were going to bless us all with a load of new James McLean chants, but they never materialised. I feel like you'd written them down and everything, but they never.
We were in the drunken haze. We were in the drunken haze in Vancouver watching a firework display, and it was like disco anthem after disco anthem, and every single song we were just putting James McLean's name into the chant, and because we were drunk, they sounded amazing. When I reread my sort of Anfield notes the morning after, they didn't go quite as well. Maybe in the weeks ahead we'll have to tease them when we've got a quiet one. Because
I didn't realise in the cold light of day they didn't look good. Because definitely in the moment they felt really good.
Definitely not as well. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'll have to have a look for my notes now, just to give you a tease of. There was one about Dancing Queen. There was
Dancing Queen for James McLean. What?
Yeah, there was. I Want to Break Free, because the chorus was basically "God knows I love James McLean." That was good.
Yeah.
And then there was "You're the One That I Want," James McLean. From Greece or whatever. They sound a lot better when you're in Vancouver on holiday and you've had a few beers.
It sounded great in the moment.
Maybe we will make actual lyrics to them in the weeks ahead. But
maybe. Right, Rich, let's chat about Ollie Rathbone then, because that was a sign in that, talking about maybe getting a little bit complacent in terms of just, with the League Cup and just that good things are happening and we're taking it all for granted. It was a signing that came without much fanfare, despite lots of people saying that he'll be your best midfielder. He should be in the Championship. He shouldn't be in League One. We've paid, according to The Athletic, a fee of around 500,000. It's not quite double the previous club record, but it's not. It was an undisclosed fee, but the previous club record was 300,000. The Athletics piece reported that it's around 500,000 for Ollie Rathbone. We spent that money. He's here to play. I love his mullet. I think I was desperate for him to score, so I could call this podcast something to do with a mullet mania or something like that. But yes, what are your initial thoughts on Ollie Rathbone?
I'm encouraged by him. Yeah, I agree that I think he will, once he's settled, become probably our best midfielder. I see him. I'm just a little confused who he's going to replace in that best midfield eventually. Again, we've got so many options, so it's really hard to say. Like, if you told me, do we need another midfielder, I would have said no. But I'm glad we've got one. I think with Jordan leaving, it maybe indicates he's a more attack-minded midfielder because he gives you that option other than Elliot Lee, perhaps, and the way that we saw him utilised playing almost off the striker on Tuesday night indicates that he will be maybe sort of an Andy Cannon, like an 8 who goes a bit box to box. Maybe he will be a number 10 at times and replace Elliot Lee. Obviously, we were prepared to spend $500,000 on Luke Armstrong last summer, weren't we? And, it doesn't surprise me we spent that on Rathbone. Still, in the context of League One, it's not an enormous fee at all, that £500,000. No. It's really big for Wrexham. Of course, to break our club record fee is huge, but I think it's just an indication as well that this is the sort of money you've got to be putting around now if you want to make these sort of additions to your squad. And we spoke so much during the National League and the League 2 years about having to future-proof your squad. Buy a player now who can do it in the league above, if not 2 leagues above. And I think, if we want to start buying players now who are good enough for League One and potentially the Championship, it is, £500,000, £1 million sort of fees. That's going to be required for them. So I'm intrigued to see how Ollie fits in. He's got a very good sort of pedigree. My old boss is a Rochdale season ticket holder, and they were saying, he's very highly rated there. They really thought he was always going to go on to much bigger and better things. Spoken to a few as well at United who saw him coming through, and I remember him vaguely being part of that team. I think the one that had sort of Lionel Cole and Raval Morrison in it. And he's an interesting player. He's someone who has always been highly rated. He's got a real good CV. I'm just bewildered as to where he's going to actually fit in, because Parky wouldn't be bringing him in if he hadn't made these assurances and a promise and a bit of a development plan, really. This is where you got to come in, this is where you got to play. He's not young. You're not saying this is for a few years' time. He's going to come in and expect to play right away. I am just perplexed, mate, as how they're actually going to fit him in. Because someone's got to drop out. And you've already broken it to me that George Evans might not be the guy I think he is. What if Elliot Lee or Andy Cannon isn't that starter anymore?
No, don't say that about Elliot Lee. I just think Elliot Lee's ball for Ravan was just absolutely perfect. The assist, I just thought it was so good. The weight of the pass was, I was probably more, and it's a great finish as well. Anyway, it's really interesting in the midfield, because not just because you've got Dobson who's come in and really asserted himself and looks like a leader, that battler, that Rottweiler type that you need in there. You know, he looks great. Evans, I think, is very, very good. And maybe longer term, maybe Evans will end up dropping back as to one of the centre-backs. He's so good as a footballer technically that you have to sort of find a place for him at some stage. James Jones, I gave him the big sell. I feel like I'm putting the jinx on players now. I really like Luke Young. He ended up getting moved on. I really wanted to root behind James Jones. He looks
it's weird that you got Billy Waters on the back of your shirt this season, isn't it? I don't know why you did that.
I feel bad now because I'm putting all my eggs in Ryan Barnett Appreciation Society, and I want it to do well, Barney. So, Barney, if you're listening, touch wood, everything will go well for you.
He won't be listening.
He won't be listening. But can we just pretend? It's better if we just pretend. People don't know who's listening, who's not. But the midfield's really interesting because you look at Andy Cannon getting a new contract. Elliot Lee already tied down to 2027. Obviously, Rathbone's just come in. James McLean just signed a new deal, and maybe he is always going to be this left wing back, but it doesn't look like it with Revan, eventually trying to get up to speed. That's McLean as an option in midfield where he played on Tuesday night. You've got obviously James Jones there, and I think he's probably bottom of the pile now. Which just really struggled to see where he's going to get his minutes. It's not like he's Harry Ashfield and he's learning off
Bristol
all these
Street
guys.
Motors, mate. That's where he'll get his
Yeah,
minutes.
that's very, very
Wolves
tough.
under 21s.
Tom O'Connor was somebody that could have been a midfielder, but now he seems to have been remodelled solely as a left centre back. It's really, really curious because you look at Andy Cannon, he must have been given assurances that you are still a key part of this team. And I get depth is very important, but so is a starting 11 and consistency and partnerships and relationships. And they only get built up by playing regularly together, by playing a lot of minutes. Now, Elliot Lee was flagging big time last season. He cannot be expected to play every single game again and every minute of every game. That's just not realistic. Interest in John McAtee and Rathbone and Parky spoke about that he can play a bit further forward. It's really interesting because a Rotherham fan said to me that when we were interested in Jamie Lindsay and that never materialised, he did that deal and they ended up passing up. And I think he plays for Bristol Rovers now, left on a free to join Bristol Rovers. A Rotherham fan said to me that Rathbone is essentially a better version of Jamie Lindsay, which is more of a defensive-minded midfielder, box to box. Not big on goals or assists. Can strike from the edge of the area. Scored some peach goals, over the years, but not particularly. That's not what he's known for. Not what he's been asked to do in the teams he's been playing in. So, do I see him as on that basis, and the reviews I've heard and everything I've read, do I see him as a like for like for Elliot Lee? Not really. Do I see him as a like for like for Andy Cannon? Probably. That's more how I see it. But again, Andy Cannon, really, really good player and should have a role to play. So I don't envy Parky in that sense, Rich, that the midfield has so many components. It's probably a good headache to have, but definitely a headache nonetheless.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. And again, once we get into this Bolton preview, whether either has put him into the lineup or not, either just to see how that goes. Speaking of lineups, Fantasy Football League, you've been itching to get back onto this. I can't say I'm literally right now going to log onto the app for the first time since last week because I have not checked my team whatsoever. I don't remember who's even in my team.
I'm going to show.
How are you enjoying it so far? Are you going to show me?
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you your team and my team. We've got 355 people in the league. Thank you so much for everyone who's already signed up. I'm going to keep the link, the join link, in the description. So I know people listen on Spotify or YouTube or Apple, wherever. The episode description, it should be in there. Just a direct link. If you click that, you'll be able to join. It's still time to join, but people have already got a head start on you. So hurry up if you haven't already. Let me share my screen, and if you are watching, and if you're not, I'll talk you through our teams. So, Rich, we'll start with your team. You are 148th Feyenoord. Or Feyenoord,
I'll take that.
148. So you had Corey Adai in goal, clean sheet for Stockport, pretty good. Ethan Laird got you. So Corey Adai got you 7 points. Ethan Laird, you went for a 2-2-2 formation. Ethan Laird, Birmingham got you 4 points.
I didn't realise you could change the formation.
No clean sheet for Birmingham. What we can do is we can see this though. Look, see what you can do. If you want to check each person's score, so there you go. 2 points for 83 minutes played, 3 clearances plus 1, and 2 tackles. So Ryan Giles, just the 1 point, unfortunately, Rich. That was not ideal for you. Only 58 minutes played. Elliot Lee got you 5 points. He was given an assist for the first goal. I'm not quite sure. 1 assist or did
Unless
he get an assist for the final
for the
goal?
Fletcher goal because he had the shot beforehand.
Assists are always very confusing. I never know if it's sort of a shot because the defender cleared it out to Fletcher. Again, that's an unbelievable goal. He got you 5 points. Gus Hamer got you 8 points. Did he get an assist? Oh, he scored. He scored against
great
Preston
goal
North
outside
End.
the box.
Yeah, didn't see that one, but 6 points for the goal, 2, and then Aaron Collins, Bolton striker, was your captain. He got 1 assist, so he got 6 points, doubled assist. 75 minutes played.
Why did I get so few points? It sounds like I should be winning the Ballon d'Or or something for this. Seems like there's points flying in.
Your prediction was Birmingham to win, which only got you 3 points because they drew, and Stockport to win, which got you 9. So that puts you in 148th. I will find myself, and we'll also give a shout out to Manager of the Week. So I was 73rd, Rich, overall.
With 1 point more than me.
With what? Well, it's so bunched up, right, at the beginning.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you're a much better manager than me. But 1 point, I'll take that.
Well, here we go. Let me show you that Archive Athletic. I don't know the first name, but A Mills, number 1 in the league. So congratulations, Manager of the Week after game week 1, got 84 points. Bolton and Doncaster both winners in their game. Luke Molyneux, captain, Rich, 38 points. Doncaster Rovers, 2 goals, 1 assist. In a 4-1 win over Accrington Stanley. I mean, what a pluck that is as a captaincy pick. League 2 captain first week. Bold shout. Billy Sharp as well in there.
Surely he gets kicked out of the league for having Billy Sharp in his team. Surely that's a sackable offence, isn't it?
Archive Athletic, I mean, who's in goal? I mean, Fleetwood, it's a League 2 team. I don't know who A Mills actually supports because obviously I just put it out on Twitter. We could have a Doncaster fan that's infiltrated the league, Rich. I don't know, but they've got Billy Sharp, Will Grigg, Gus Hamer, Luke Molyneux, James Bolton, who didn't play for Fleetwood, Joe Lewis at AFC Wimbledon, and David Harrington in goal for Fleetwood. So 84 points, Manager of the Week. Reminder that you can make wholesale changes. You're going to pick 2 different teams for who's going to win this week. You're going to completely change your team. I have to say I'm going to take Arthur Okonkwo out of my team. I'm not so super confident about a clean sheet against Bolton. I'm going to completely rip my team up, Rich. What about yourself? Are you going to wholesale changes? Because you're going to have to keep up. There's a trophy on the line here. I think there's a winning trophy, Red 10, Rob Ryan Red 10 Fantasy Winners Trophy, and a runners-up trophy, I think. That's right.
Oh, yeah. I'll give it a good go this weekend. I will rip the team up. Because I can, but yeah, I can't say I'm giving it any sort of. I'm not reading into players' form, even looking at who players are playing. I'm just going to do it on vibes, mate. It's going to be vibes only.
Vibes is a good thing though. You can get far on vibes. What I would say though, is you've got 2,000 players to choose from. So people who are not sure, who they should be going for, maybe they know players in the Championship a bit more, or League 1 or League 2. You've got lots and lots of players to pick from, and if you are more of a analytics, looking at fixtures, fixture difficulty, all that sort of thing, like I am, probably more so than Rich, or if you're like Rich and you're getting by on vibes, it's a lot of fun. We've got over 300 of you competing in the league, 2 trophies up for grabs. I very much want to win one. Rich probably doesn't really care if he wins one or not.
That's going to be top 200, mate. That's what I want to be.
So you just want to be top 200. Well, what would be top half? 175 or something like that. It'd be a top half, right?
Okay, I'll go 175 then. That's the dream for me.
Top half finish for Feyenoord. A pinch of salt is doing okay. I had Arthur Okonkwo, Elliot Lee, Alfie May, Louis Barry, who scored an unbelievable goal as well. I know we shouldn't really be praising other teams like Stockport on this podcast, but yeah, scored an absolute hell of a goal. Who else did I have in there? Elliot Lee. Oh, can't even remember. Couldn't get back. Didn't pull my
good
team
content.
Up, so,
great podcast content.
Yeah, Fantasy Corner. A Mills, congratulations, Manager of the Week. And next week, I'm going to hope that is one of your Irish.
Rob Ryan Red.
So speaking of transfers then, Nath, and the transfers we might make this weekend, what about Wrexham? There's a fortnight left of the League One summer transfer window. Rathbone was the latest addition. As we stand today, recording on Wednesday the 14th, 1, do Wrexham need to sign another player before deadline day? 2, do you think they actually will?
Yes and yes. In short, I would say. Goalkeeping department sorted. Nothing more needs to be said there. Okonkwo and Burton have proven themselves they're absolutely fine. Howard is there more for vibes these days, but great vibes he is. And Liam Hall getting a great education with 3 very, very experienced goalkeepers, or 2 very experienced goalkeepers and a really rising star in Okonkwo. Happy days. Do we need another centre-back? No, we don't. I think we've already got 2 for each position. You've got Max and Lewis Brunt really seen as the right-sided options. You've got Owen O'Connell, Dan Scarr as the central option, and Tom O'Connor, Will Boyle, and then chuck in and Aaron James in there as well. Plenty of centre-back options.
Yeah.
Right wing-back, fine. Left wing-back, fine. Midfield, fine. I do just think there needs to be, as I said what I said last week, wasn't it? That I think there needs to be some moves made in attack. At least one, I think, because Bickerstaff really needs to go. Waters needs to go. Dare I say, Dolby potentially needs to go. Fletcher's more of an impact sub. He'll be used mainly off the bench and can have a real good impact like that. But I wouldn't expect him to start many games. Mullen will go in. But all indications is that number 1 target for Parky right now is Michael Smith at Sheffield Wednesday. Very, very experienced, 32-year-old striker on a lot of money at Sheffield United. If Sheffield Wednesday fans, pardon me, that's
always good to get those 2 mixed up.
Always good.
They're absolutely fine with that. Just call them Sheffield. They love that as well.
So over at Sheffield, the blue half of Sheffield. Michael Smith, very experienced, scored a lot of goals to get Sheffield Wednesday promoted. I know there was a lot of blowback when I shared that message that Football Insider had put out the report that we're in talks with Michael Smith, and I've seen that is correct. I've heard very much the same. I just think you need to level up in the striking department, because Marriott will become Mullen's understudy, I would suspect, and you just need that old school. Parky clearly likes that Ollie Palmer type, and I think he's looking to upgrade an Ollie Palmer. That's just the harsh reality of going up the leagues.
Yeah, 6'3", isn't he? And we've spoken, our first 6 months under Parky, we really suffered because we just didn't have that little and large up top. Jake Hyde and Mullen just wasn't really a partnership. They're both a bit too similar in what they wanted to do. We all know what happened when Ollie Palmer signed. Everything clicked. Everyone got better. Paul Mullen became a far better football player because he had someone who was occupying the centre-backs, making those diverting runs, opening up the space for him, and crucially ensuring that Paul Mullen got the ball in central areas. He was getting the ball in between the sticks. He wasn't having to drift out wide or drop as deep as he was doing previously. And I think going forward, as long as Parky is in charge, that is the formula. You've got to refine it to an element. Yeah. You've got to adapt it. But we need a big guy up top and someone who's a bit more nimble. Michael Smith, 6'3", him playing alongside Paul Mullen, that's the plan. And then you've got Fletcher as Smith's backup. You've got Marriott as Mullen's backup. You keep Palmer around until his contract expires. You probably do keep another striker around just because you might as well have him for the Bristol Street Motors. Get rid of the rest. It is really interesting. And we've been speaking all summer, that this is the era we feel is almost going to be the difference maker now. Because I think we've got a squad with Rathbone in there. I think we've got a squad that can be top half. Get another striker in, especially an experienced one like Smith in. You've got a team that can challenge for the playoffs probably. Be outside dark horses for the playoffs. And then once you get to the playoffs, who knows what can happen. So I think it's an integral bit of business. It's a priority now and crucial that we get it over the line. I would much rather we sign someone who's experienced rather than someone who's inexperienced. I know there's so much excitement at, we could get this youngster from a Premier League club. We could get this guy in. There was the links with the Tottenham striker. Is it Lancaster?
Lancashire, yeah.
Lancashire, sorry. I've spoken to people at Tottenham. I've spoken to all my good friends who is like the go-to Tottenham reporter. And he was saying there's nothing in this, really. He said he potentially will leave on loan now that Solanke's come in. But they'd be looking at a championship loan probably for him. So that's maybe a bit of a non-starter for Wrexham. I think they'll still keep some sort of interest in case things moved and, potentially he could come in and get some experience. But for what Wrexham need to do this season, one, they need to build for their own future. So you can't be. There's no point us developing Tottenham's next best striker. We need to develop Wrexham's next best striker, and we just need. I mean, that sounds like a good TV show, doesn't it? America's Next Top Model, Wrexham's next best striker. Yeah, so it's one of those things where we've just got to get some experience in. I think I'll be very interested though if Smith happens at the age of 32. What type of contract is he given? Will he get the Marriott of a year and a half, 2 year sort of deal, or will he get one of these 3-4 year contracts where it could potentially be problematic at the other end if you've got someone who's 35, 36 on mega bucks and you can't get rid of them? So I'm really interested to see how we handle, if indeed it is Smith, the contract sort of side of things.
Yeah, I don't want to be a hypocrite because I was on very earlier in the summer that said I really wanted Max Dean and I really thought we could evolve the style, but I think maybe that was me being a little bit fanatical about, going up the leagues. As long as we've got Phil Parkinson, it is going to be that little and large combination, as you said, and that is effective. It's got us as far, it's got us back to back, got us 2 promotions in 3 seasons. There's no denying that it works. It gets the best out of Mullin. The team is catered to Mullin, rightly so. And so I think Michael Smith can be incredibly effective when you actually look at the numbers. Okay, it's one of 2 things. Always really interesting. It's when you're privately owned, it's not our money. So I get when it's fan owned, every penny is priceless to the investment. And Michael Smith, if they believe that if Phil Parkinson believes he is his number 1 target to be that upgrade on Ollie Palmer, to be that big guy, to be that upgrade on Sam Dolby, and it's and he believes that, we should back him. Because Smith looks like he can be very effective. You've got Sheffield Wednesday fans saying he can get you 15 goals, no problem, probably more. He takes penalties. He wouldn't be on penalties, I'm sure, with Mullin. So he can play a lot. You could give him a 2-year deal. He'd be 34 then, I think. Yeah, he'd be 34. Don't know when his birthday is. I haven't. I'm not at the level of I'm knowing the birthdays of targets quite yet. I'm not at that level.
It's the 17th of October, mate. If you didn't know that already.
Is that going to be in our big fat quiz of the year again? Do you remember Michael Smith's birthday when he doesn't sign? But you know what? It's tricky. It's for me. It's a deal that with he's got a year left on his contract. I could see the club being pushed into a situation where they might need to break the Ollie Rathbone record again.
Yeah,
and it's will they do that? Strikers cost money. That is the one area of the pitch that goals cost a hell of a lot of money. If you've got a reliable goal scorer. Look at what Alfie May cost. Was it 800,000 plus a $500,000 relocation fee or something? Something insane. It might not be that much, but it was a hell of a lot of money. Joe Taylor at Luton's one in demand. I think Lincoln and Huddersfield are looking at him. Strikers are valuable commodities, and yes, Sheffield Wednesday are probably open to letting Smith leave, but they're not going to give him away for nothing. They're not going to give him away for peanuts. So the onus is on us now. How much do we want it? How much do we want him? Palmer is one of those that hasn't been offered a contract extension yet. Neither is James Jones. You're seeing the likes of Max got a new deal, and O'Connor got a new deal, didn't he? And Cannon got a new deal. So the ones they want to tie down, they're tying down. And as of right now, 14th of August, they haven't decided to tie down Ollie Palmer. And I wouldn't imagine they are going to. So Smith, if it's a 2-year deal, would make a lot of sense. McLean has proven that age is just a number. I know he's an anomaly, a bit of a fitness freak. Not a bit of, he is a fitness freak. But I would have no qualms. 2-year deal for Michael Smith to get us into the League One players, to get us out of League One in the next 2 seasons. I mean, bring it on if that's the case.
Speaking of bring it on, Nath, Bolton away this weekend. I'm really looking forward to this one. Managed to get tickets when the extra lot went on sale last week. Yeah, what do you reckon for this one then? Because you mentioned earlier in the pod, we've got to go to the tough sheets. And we can't fear them too much. We've got to respect them, but we can't fear them. I think it's going to be a really difficult one. I don't want to be too doom and gloom. I'm not going to give you the score prediction I was giving at Bramall Lane on Tuesday night. What are you thinking ahead of this game? Do you think it's one of those where, look, Gunko, Wrexham can put on a show, we can spoil their party, really? It's their first home game, and they're a team who are one of the favourites for promotion. You can't escape that. They got so close a year ago, obviously really disappointing in the playoff final, but this is going to be a very difficult test, and it's probably, on paper, potentially the second hardest match we'll have all season. You'd probably say Birmingham away is the toughest test, but Bolton away in their first home match, there's not going to be more trickier tests than this, really, are there?
No, but I would also say that a crowd of, say, around 25,000, people say, "Oh, that it's going to be intense, going to be nerve-wracking for Wrexham." Why? Because it should also be nerve-wracking for Bolton, because how many times are they actually getting that number of fans? I'm going to guess not very often in League One are they getting 25,000. I think I've heard that they maybe get 20, 21. Okay, it's not a huge difference, but it's big enough. It's a big game. They will know it's a big game. They will want to land a blow on Wrexham. I just think we have to go there and not be scared of the moment, because yes, we can lose, and if we lose away at Bolton, it is what it is, as I would often say. But we have got quality. We have got so much quality that, you know, we can hurt them. They can hurt us. John McAtee probably scores, and he'll probably lift his shirt up and reveal Mickey Mouse or some Disney meme, and you know, they'll all have a good laugh at our expense. But we've got Elliot Lee, we've got Jack Marriott who's in form, we've got Ollie Palmer, we've got Seb Revan, we've got James McLean, we've got Ryan Barnett, we've got Dan Scott. We've got good players. We have got really good players.
Chant, mate.
No,
the remix of the We've Got Mullen chant. We've got Revan, we've got McLean, we've got Dan Scott, we've got Burton.
You just rattle it off like a roll call. Yeah, I'm still standing by some of those James McLean chants. We're gonna have to get one of them out soon, because they were actually good.
Do.
Never mind drunken hate.
We'll get into the studio.
Yes, but I think look. I know you're saying, and maybe that is just too cavalier, too bold. I just think with somebody like Revan, okay, he would leave you, especially if you're playing two defensive midfielders, Rich, and the back three, the more familiar back three. You've got to take risks, I think, in wide areas. You do have to take a little bit of risk.
I just think he's a sub in that regard, though.
No, but Revan will give them something to think about in behind that I just don't think McLean will go forward. McLean's great, he offers you so much, but Barney does give you something to think about in behind. Marriott's making great runs, and Revan's a goal threat.
Yeah, I just don't think we'll have many chances at the tough sheet. So I think it's more about keeping. I think it's a game where you approach it and try to keep a clean sheet, and if you do that, then you've at least got a point. Really, that's all I think. I don't think it's going to be a gung-ho approach in that regard.
Maybe I think he's a last half hour, Rich.
Yeah,
maybe he's a last half hour job.
That's what I reckon, and I think that it'll be similar to sort of Mansfield and Notts County. I mean, it's cliche. It's a game of fine margins, but I think it's going to be one of those where we sit back, let them have a lot of the ball, hopefully weather an early storm, and then we've got to try and nick a goal or two. I don't think we'll have much of the ball. We'll have to play to our strengths. It could be such a test defensively, I think. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if it was McLean and then Barnett, and you go from a more settled back three.
Rich, I see what you're saying. I'm almost like putting my hand up like I'm in class here. I see what you're saying, but I also think if that is going to be your approach, and you do go Dobson, and you do go Rathbone, or you do go Evans, and you really compact it, you really sit in, you need pace to break the line. If you're going to play on the counter-attack, you've watched enough football. You can't play on the counter-attack without pace. Otherwise, you're never going to get out. You're never going to be able to break the lines, and then you just camped in. And then what can you do?
I think if you've got Marriott and Barnett and Lee, you've got enough movement off the ball there. You've got quite a lot. I know you maybe want that extra bit of zip, but I think that's when you've got Bolton and Revan off the bench. If you can keep the game tight up until the hour mark or 20 minutes left, then that's when you bring Bolton and Revan on. You try and stretch the tired legs, try and get in behind then. I just think it would be slightly, gung-ho and a bit, self-destruct if you play them from the start, because I think you just leave us too expansive and open. And then even if you get into the situation where, look, Revan has the game of his life, we go 1-0 up, we're inviting even more pressure on ourselves. And I know there'll be more opportunities on the break, but I think it's just, it's about biding your time. It's about managing the game in those 5-10 minute chunks, getting yourself into the final sort of third of the match. And then that's when you can calculate whether it's time to gamble or not. So I know what you're saying. I think this early in the season, I wouldn't begrudge Park if he did try something new. I literally wouldn't have any complaints, because I'm pessimistic anyway going to the game. So if we try something new and it fails, I'm not too bothered, because I think even if we play to our optimum, we could still lose the game. But I think personally, the way we approach it is we sort of step back and then we take the risks, in my opinion. So
I feel like are we politely disagreeing with each other? This is why we should be biting each other's head off. We need
this is our Arsenal fan TV, yeah.
It's a tame version of Arsenal, Wrexham fan TV. But I think I just want to go there and give a performance that we're not. This isn't a cup tie. This isn't. We are in the same level as Bolton Wanderers. They've got they are further ahead in their development in terms of trying to get back, but we're not this tiny team with players that can't compete. We can go toe to toe with them. I get that maybe away from home isn't the way to go. I fully understand that.
And of course, they will lose some easy games, not easy games, but they'll drop points this season. They will lose at home.
For sure.
I mean? We all will. So.
And look, maybe the approach is, as you say, maybe it is just keep it tight. But I've seen that before where we've maybe done ourselves a disservice by not trusting in our creative players, not trusting in our... Because, again, for example, midfield or the back three. I mean, have you got a lineup in mind that you would go with? I mean, it's Wednesday now. I mean, we've seen... I don't know, 20 players now over the course of 19 players, whatever it is. We've seen a lot of players. Have you got a team that you would pick? And then I'll see how different mine would be to that.
To be honest, the only change I'd consider making from Wickham would potentially be some on form that I'd potentially go Scar over O'Connell. Right. Or even over O'Connor, and just bring another no-nonsense defender into the back line, potentially, just because I think we'll have a lot of defending to do. I would be tempted to try and start Revan. I'd love to see that, but I just think defensively we'll be a bit too vulnerable. So I think the only change I'd make... the same? I think so, yeah. Maybe you just try and just give them instructions to do a lot more sort of defensively and off the ball. The other component here is something I've been thinking about. I don't think this will happen, but Elliot Lee away from home just doesn't seem to have as much of a grip on the game as he does. No. I'm not sure if that last season was just because of fatigue and he's being used so much, and it wasn't a fair reflection. But if you want to transition, you probably need him in midfield anyway, because you need that link man between midfield and attack.
God, you're going to absolutely shredders of pace and creativity. You're just going to have two...
I'm just saying, is there an argument to go sort of Dobson, Cannon, Rathbone? Or to put Evans in there this weekend. That's all I'm thinking, and have a more of a flat midfield three. It depends on whether Parky wants to sit back and absorb pressure, or if the plan is just to hurt them on the counter and bide your time.
We're gonna get onto a Bolton podcast very, very shortly, and Ben is going to give us the lowdown on the Wanderers. I'm sure he'll say the mighty Wanderers. I just think I get it. You desperately want to get a clean sheet, as do I. I would love that. But you are going for a clean... You are like on FIFA when you go...
Ultra defensive.
Ultra defensive.
Run the clock down.
It's so hard to get out your half, and it's so tiring when you're out of possession. You just see teams, they'll move you side to side, and they've got the ball. And it's frustrating for them, like it has been for us, where teams have come to the racecourse and banks of four, and it's on you to break it down. And maybe that is how it'll go. I just think... We've got too much talent. The midfield's a curious one because, do you play Rathbone? Do you play Evans? Do you play Dobson? Dobson will definitely play. Do you play Lee? Do you play Jones? Do you play, I don't even know if I've named now, Cannon? McLean? Do you play McLean inside? Do you play him at left back? Because you could play if you want an Elliot Lee less lineup. You could play McLean as more of the attacking midfielder link man that's obviously got more defensive tendencies anyway. Could play sort of a McLean, Cannon, Dobson, McLean, Rathbone, Dobson, something like that, or Evans, or Dobson, Evans, McLean, I don't know, something like that. But I'd be amazed. I'm going to say my predicted lineup will be Okonkwo, Barnett, Max, Dan Scar, Tom O'Connor. Begrudgingly, I'll say that Seb Revan will start the bench. I'll go James McLean at left wing back. Midfield of Dobson, Rathbone, Lee, and Marriott and Palmer up front. Yeah. That's the team I suspect will play and start.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problems with that whatsoever. You've mentioned Bolton preview then. Let's hear about the Trotters.
Yeah, so Trotter Chatter podcast, also part of the TalkSport fan network as we are. And Ben kindly gave us some time to fill both of us in on what it's like over at Bolton these days.
Ryan Red.
Right then, we're out of the Carabao Cup. Not that we're just going to pretend we don't care about that. All about the league, and one of the biggest fixtures probably of the season for us, not just in terms of proximity, but is one of the ones that fans were circling as soon as the fixtures came out. Bolton Wanderers away. Spent many years in the Premier League and the Championship while we were in National League, and more recently in League Two when they were in League One last season. Ben from Trotter Chatter, I can't say that in a hurry, can I? Is with us from the TalkSport Fan Network. Ben, firstly, is this the year Bolton get out of League One? What's your gut instinct?
Bloody hope so. I can't deal with another one. I think we've got a stronger team overall than last season. So going off, I'm not going to say it, but how last season went, I'm not over it yet. But going off that, I'm more and more coming round to the idea of us going up this season. I didn't think it was something that was going to happen a month or so back. I thought it's a lot stronger division than last year, but the additions we've made, I'm worried how more confident I am now than I was.
You're in that weird spot where you're very confident now. But talk to us a bit about. So we know that we lost out on the John McAtee front. That stings, and that was a player that a lot of people wanted, and I know some people didn't, but he's a great player at this level. Showed it with Barnsley. He's a very, very good pickup if you want to finish in the top two, which you guys are definitely pushing for. Talk to us about the recruitment in general. Who else have you picked up, and kind of who stands out?
Yeah. I mean, I think McAtee's the big one for us, really. Obviously, there was all the talk that he'd had a medical with Wrexham, then joined us. I'm not gonna say I know exactly what happened. I'm glad it went the way it did, though. There's who else have we brought in? There is Jay Matete, all known from Sunderland. I think for this level, it's a very good signing. He's been the last 3 seasons. He's been at a team that went up from League One. So, I don't necessarily believe in superstition, but it's not a bad one to have. We've brought in, see if I can get his name right, Zabolks Shun, from a team in Hungary. I can't remember which one. Left wing back who, against Orient, first game of the season, he looked very good. Looked sharp in pre-season. He's already played European competition this season. Who else? There's Lolos from Crawley. He's looked good. He went off injured against Orient, annoyingly. So you won't have to worry about him at least. Then Southwood from Cheltenham. And one of the things that really cost us last season was when Nathan Baxter got injured. Our backup keeper was nowhere near good enough. Not even for a second. So having someone not as good as Baxter, but of a quality that can sort of still maintain a promotion push in League One, I think it's going to be massive. There's a few others. Farino from Wickham. He was the first one we got done. He's looked all right from what I've seen. Jordi Osai Tutu from Bochum. He was at Arsenal when he was a kid. Played last night against Mansfield in the cup that you've clarified no one cares about. He looked sharp. That's what's really worrying me, is that all the new signings are looking good as well. And I really don't want to get overconfident, but it's happening.
Yeah, there you go. I can feel it. You've got that positivity that I thought might have been beaten out of you, to be honest, after losing against Oxford in the playoff final. And I'm actually quite surprised. My question was going to be on Ian Evatt, because I felt like maybe it would be something that he might not have survived that. Really, it was such a disappointment. It felt like from the outside looking in, a huge amount of pressure on Evatt now that it has to work. You have to do it this time.
Yeah. Last season we were, specifically us as a podcast, were very critical of Evatt, and we questioned whether or not he'd stay as well. The owner, Sharon Britton, she's very much attached to Evatt. She thinks so highly of him, and he's shown he's a good manager. He's frustrating, incredibly frustrating, but he's still young. He's clearly still learning as he goes. It is a high pressure situation to be in at a team challenging, especially a team with the history, like you said, of being in the Premier League, over the past 2 decades. When we lost, I definitely was of the opinion that we potentially needed someone else. But I'm also, this season's like a reset. What happened last season is not forgiven or forgotten, but I'm willing to start as fresh as I can with it.
That's healthy, mate. That's the healthy mindset to go again. It feels like quite a therapeutic thing for you to, we're newbies. We're everyone wants to beat us. Don't get me wrong. And we saw that Sheffield United still absolutely love beating us in the Carabao Cup. There's going to be a huge crowd there. I call it the Reebok. I don't know what it's called nowadays. Tough Sheet. There you go.
It's the Reebok.
The Reebok. The Reebok. Well, officially, I've got the Tough Sheet, which is a great name, but not the Reebok. It could be 25,000, could be even slightly above that, maybe. I mean, is that pressure on your players? Because do you play in front of crowds that big normally? What's the occasion like for you? A big one, normal one? What are we saying?
Back end of last season, we were getting we played Portsmouth at home beginning of April. When we had Barnsley in the playoffs at home, they were sort of 25, 26,000. We didn't lose either game. Or, no, we potentially lost the Barnsley one, but went through on goal overall on aggregate. But no, I think we were getting some pretty big crowds last year. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people that sort of, like I said, haven't forgiven, but in a more sort of hardcore way of not forgiving than me. Well, like, you saw even with season ticket sales, there was a drop-off to the progress it was making after the playoff final. Like, I think when they first came out, they did it at a very smart time when we were on the up and looking like we might get automatics, and they flew out the door. But obviously Wrexham have just been promoted, but at the same time, like you said, everyone wants to beat Wrexham. But at the same time, everyone wants to beat Bolton. It is still a massive occasion. Despite talking about how my confidence is growing, I'm still incredibly worried about this game.
Really, on Sunday, because we'll end on kind of how we think the game might go. But penultimate question, I was just going to ask about Phil Parkinson, because in my mind, super positive. He basically managed with two hands tied behind his back. It's a really tumultuous period. And yet the more I've read, the more I've listened to, it sounds like maybe not all Bolton fans are super, super positive on him. I don't know how you feel. How do you see it, how he'll be received when he goes back on Sunday?
I think he'll get a good reception. Like you said, he was in a very difficult situation. He didn't necessarily play the most attractive brand of football with us, but he also got us out of League One into the Championship. Like, I loved him. So he'll get a warm reception from me at least.
That's all he needs, Ben. You know what I mean? He doesn't need anyone else.
He'll be listening for me, I'm sure of it.
He'll be looking out for you, I'm sure. Him and Steve Parkin and the rest of them. What do you see then? Because I've got nightmares about going to Bolton and spending a bit of time in that retail park and having a few beers and enjoying myself. And then John McAtee's just going to come and score and lift up his top, and he'll have some kind of Disney moniker, and it'll be terrible. I've got these nightmares, Ben, of is that how it's going to go? Do you think Wrexham will be able to? I mean, I think we've got the quality to upset you in parts of the pitch. I think Elliot Lee's fabulous. We've got George Dobson was really good for us on the opening game, and ultimately he didn't blow the doors off Leyton Orient, who we don't think are going to be up there challenging. So I don't know. How do you see it? First home game of the season for you guys?
I think, see, if anything, I've had almost the inverse thoughts of what you've had, where I've got thoughts of 10 minutes in, we could be 3 down. Like, it's never really. Obviously, last season Bolton turned up more than they didn't, but also we've struggled in the bigger games. Like, there have been situations where we haven't turned up, and I'm somewhat worried that might happen again. We're playing with a slightly new system, which I think is sort of partially the reason why we've not sort of set the world on fire against like Leyton Orient and Mansfield. It's like we've 8 new signings, everyone's still gelling, but I think the first month of the season, while that's still happening, I only really care about results, and we've got them so far. So it might be the game it all clicks together, but I also have a feeling it'll be a bit scrappy. While we're still trying to figure everything out with the new ideas, but I really don't know.
Very quickly then, because it's in my head now, I'm thinking about it. What is the future this season of Bolton's attack? Is it going to be McAtee, Collins, Charles? What kind of... How do you see the front line? Because that is ultimately going to determine... You need goals, and that is going to determine whether you're in that top 6, top 10, top 2. Is that the trio that you're banking on, you lot?
That's what I think it'll be, yeah. Adebayo's he's a good striker, but he's not of the quality of the other three. I mean, Collins has played a lot of his career off the left, so having him playing behind the striker instead of up top with Charles, I think it's going to really suit him. McAtee, I mean, he's a big... I think he could play wherever you asked him to going forward. And then Charles, I don't know what kind of football you play, but if you like to sort of have possession at the back, your centre backs will hate Dion Charles with a passion because he will not leave them alone. It all seems well balanced. I think those three are definitely the ones to look out for.
Well, we'll see. I'm having nightmares. You're having nightmares. One of us will probably be right, or it'll be somewhere in between. So I couldn't wish you less luck for Sunday. But outside of that, I wish you all the best, mate, for the season. And if people want to listen to the podcast, Trotter Chatter, part of the TalkSport Fan Network, they'll be in the description, everything. So if you want your Bolton news, because I don't know, we might be up there. Who knows what we'll do, Wrexham? We don't know quite how we're going to shake out. If we're in the mix with Bolton and you want your Bolton news, Trotter Chatter is the way to go. So there you go, Rich. I think they're slightly wary of being too confident this season because of how they got burned in the playoff final against Oxford United. They obviously thought that they were a bigger team and should have gone up. But it's inescapable that they are well-tooled to go up. I just think it's really interesting that Ian Evert's under such pressure there to get it right, that if it goes slightly awry a little bit, he'll be under huge pressure, and who knows whether he sees out the season. So, really curious one there. They are in the position that we've been in previous years, where you sort of have to go up. Has to work for them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it actually sort of... how they manage that expectation. It'll be good as well to see the reception Parky gets there. Obviously, a Bolton great. They absolutely love him. They think the world of him and what he did there, considering the circumstances he had, the hands tied around his back. So I'm just hoping it's sunny. I hope it's going to be a nice, fun Wrexham away day. I'm hoping the away end will be a bit cooler than Bramall Lane was. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing mates, enjoying League One, and again, just enjoying being back, playing teams like Bolton, playing teams like Sheffield United. When that's your week, it's brilliant. This is what we dreamt of, and this is no disrespect to some of the teams we have to play in League Two in the National League, but this is what it's all about for me. I know there might be bigger, long dreams and long-term ambitions for the club, but just being back in League One, where we kind of do belong, and just giving it a go, I'm absolutely loving it, mate. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait for Bolton away.
Yeah, well, what more can I say to that? That's the perfect rousing speech. Get into them, lads. Play that out in the dressing room. No, I'm very excited. Very looking forward to it. Doesn't seem to be loads around the ground, but we'll make it work. We'll have a good day out nonetheless. On telly, if you're in the UK and you can't go, you didn't get one of the tickets.
Sunday as well.
Sky, I think on Sunday 3 p.m.
My dad seemed to think it was Saturday 3 p.m. and if he doesn't know by now that it's Sunday, this is his warning. It is Sunday 3 p.m. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be great, and we will be back next week to look back at whatever happened at the Tough Sheet. Let's hope it isn't a tough sheet for us this weekend. Nath, thank you very much for doing all the hard work you do on Rob Ryan Red. I think anyone who watched a Canada vlog will realise that it is all 99% you. Thank you very much as well, Hypnotic, the music, the stings we do in the podcast, and Red 10 People Development. You might have seen our new animated sort of, what do you call it? Yeah, if you watch it on YouTube, there's a new...
intro, I don't know.
Yeah, and we should also give a shout out to the man who designed that, shouldn't we, Nath? Because...
we definitely should.
Yeah, let me find this. This is very slick. This is the type of thing we should have done a long time before. That's Will Snowden, and we put a link to his Instagram page in the description below. Yeah, thank you very much. There'll be also...
I like the we. There's a lot of we that turns into I. I don't know.
Oh God, yeah. The beautiful thing on this podcast is I can say we will do this, but it's actually you will do this. So
we have agreed to this, and then I'm like,
I can make as many promises as I want. There's also, Nath, should we tease competition for next week? Give away a Wrexham wash bag.
We'll do it. We'll do it next week. So competition to give away one of those. I believe those United Airline wash bags. So if you haven't flown business class,
you can't get them anymore.
Yeah. Can't get them anymore. So I gave mine that I was kind of given by United to Jeff, who put us up in Vancouver. So hopefully he's thoroughly enjoying the utensils.
He's washing himself as we speak, mate.
Oh, he's got the full grooming kit. Yeah, amazing. And anyone who's still asking about Jeff's origin story, we might need to play in Vancouver again to get the truth about Jeff. He's a curious character, curious cat to pin down. But yeah, we're rambling on. It's Wednesday, or when we're recording this. Bolton on Sunday, and then it's big week for Parky. Rich will say this to finally wrap it up. Bolton away, and then Reading at home. Two fan bases that love Phil Parkinson, but maybe not as much as we do right now. So thank you very much. And if you're there at Bolton, say hello.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. As always, please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to head over and watch us on YouTube as well. We're trying to grow our platform. Thank you very much. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.
Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Faye.